Howie and Beastmode podcast, where we discuss all things business, including growth, strategy, and execution, as well as personal and professional development. Let's join Howie and Beastmode in conversation.
Podcast and show. We are glad to hang out with you. This is Howie, and I'm joined by Beastmode. What's up, man?
No, not a whole lot, Howie. I'm so glad to be here with you. I know that you're recovering from being a little under the weather, but I know that everybody's going to benefit from having you here.
Excited to be here. Glad to be making a recovery. It wasn't COVID, which I really thought it was going to be. So yeah, it's bronchitis, and I'm on medication, doing pretty well. So we're going to jump right in. So we've been in a little bit of a series called Building Through Difficulty, and it's been a really interesting and beneficial series for us. I hope that it has been helping everybody else also. This is I'm not sure if it'll be the final week. It might be.
Feels like it.
Probably likely, yeah. Building during difficulty. And then in this week is leveraging partnerships. And it's a particular topic that gets us excited. And we love doing our show prep where we get to really drill into these topics. And so join us now as we talk about leveraging partnerships. And the little secret about this is that although it's great for building during difficulty, it's really important to leverage partnerships just in general. So no particular order, but maybe Beast Mode if you want. What is a partnership and why do they matter?
Well, partnerships matter in so many ways. Just because I'm sure we all know in any form of business you can't do it alone. So if you go back to the basic level, you gotta have Office Max to get your supplies. You gotta have whoever delivers your internet. So you gotta have these various levels of partnerships. But then as you want to grow, which is what we've been talking about, you can maximize and capitalize on the ability of partnering in certain avenues, whether it's supporting or whether it's I'm on the recipient end of that. And that's the biggest reason of why partnerships in my mind. But why don't you share a little bit about what is a partnership in your mind?
It's interesting. We have talked a bit about, our purpose and things of that nature in different podcasts. One of the things that I've said to Beast Mode recently, and I don't remember if I've shared it on the podcast, is that I like to really listen to how my internal mental and emotional and psychological state respond to different topics. And there's some signals in that which help you to find passions and things like that. So you can kind of double down on them. And it's interesting that just partnerships at all has been something I've been excited about for 2 weeks. And today just mentioning the word partnerships kind of got me, pretty enthusiastic about that. So yeah, it's an area of passion. So what is a partnership and why from my perspective? There's a lot of kinds of partnerships, but to me, it's about leveraging a revenue opportunity for your company and for other companies. Or if you're a nonprofit, leveraging partnerships for sharing. I know that Beast Mode runs a nonprofit and he has multiple sharing relationships. So there's partnerships even in the nonprofit world. But yeah, definitely a great, from a business perspective, leveraging that opportunity to provide business and to receive business. That might be, it's kind of like 1 + 1 = 3 kind of approach, kind of the mindset, basically. Like you're better if you work with partners than if you work alone. And I think that's pretty universally true. If you look at people that are sort of like monolithic in their mind about, like if it has to be built by us, or it has to be run by us, or it doesn't exist, those don't always work out very well. I mean, look at, like, for example, Amazon Web Services is really dominating in the cloud space, and look at their partner network. It's unbelievable. There's an Amazon partner on every corner, and there's also partner solutions in their cloud available as well for you, for everything, all the way down to making coffee. Not really, but you get the point. So yeah, it's definitely an opportunity to amplify yourself and to spread the word and to spread revenue around. what are some of the roles that you've seen? I know that I know that your company JL, is really geared to partnership. What are some of the roles that you've seen, as you've kind of built that offering out?
Yeah, ideally, in partnerships, there needs to be established roles to be successful, and they need to be talked about up front. And we're actually going to get to it, but I actually believe that the brand or the business, before you even engage in a partnership, you need to self-evaluate and establish your role even before getting into a partnership. But ideally, you have supporting roles. That are uplifting or driving towards the overall product, the overall service or goal. Those are supporting factors. And then maybe you have, similar to maybe to like you were talking about, Amazon Web Services, they're the top tier, they're the overlayer, and then they have all their different partners who are supporting, who are benefiting as a benefactor to being a partner. Um, and so uh, those are the roles off the top of my head, but I think there's a couple more once we get going.
Yeah, I think both you and I both use HubSpot, and HubSpot has a bunch of they have over 200 applications now that are available in their marketplace. I saw an application for $55,000, and then I've seen dozens that are free, and I've
Yeah.
seen $21. So there's every type of enterprise and small business offering in the HubSpot marketplace. If you're a Salesforce.com person, you're well aware of their app marketplace and the thousands of apps that are available in there. They have a lot bigger market. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Beast Mode, but I prefer to use a partner, either HubSpot's direct applications or a partner certified application, because there has a bit of a trust there. You know,
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It does whenever you're utilizing HubSpot and you see their partner list or you see their application list, okay, at least there's some kind of vetting or there's some kind of protocol that that this partner had to go through to be in collaboration with HubSpot, and so it makes me a little bit more at ease, even if they're more expensive or maybe they have a duration that I'm not comfortable with. Maybe that comes with the functionality. Hey, because they're in collaboration with HubSpot, it makes me want to work with them. So I completely agree with that as well.
yeah, this is something that we can kind of coin on this podcast. I haven't really thought of it before in this with this phrase, but it's kind of the introducer effect. The introducer effect. And there's a little bit of and we see it in social. So JL, so Beast Mode's company is all about social. Actually, they're about more than that, but that's a pretty big core.
Yeah.
But the introducer effect is what social media marketing is really about. You're building trust to be introduced. And so with the HubSpot marketplace, for example, you can tell from how Beast Mode and I are talking that we have a little bit of this kind of like inherited trust for any application that we see on there that we might be interested in. That application is inheriting our trust because we trust HubSpot, if that makes sense. So how can you in your business start thinking about uh, benefiting from the introducer effect when you partner with people? Let's say you partner with just yourself, right? So you kind of have only the introducer effect of people that know and trust you, right? But if you've got 5 partners out there and they've got 5 relationships as well, then you've got 25 additional possible benefits to your business of the introducer effect. So that's a great, it's kind of it's inherent in the partner type concept that the introducer effect is going to happen for you. So let's dive into benefits. The first one is the introducer effect, of course, of having a partner because they trust that partner, and therefore you're kind of inheriting that trust when they refer you, and as the case may be. But also, I think one of the benefits that you were going to cover is focusing on your core. So talk to us a little bit about that benefit, focusing on your core.
Yeah, the core is you have to understand who you are. And whenever you're doing that, whenever you're focusing on exactly what it is that you do well, then I don't have to try to branch out and distinguish myself as something else. And so it allows me to hyper focus on exactly what, in my case, and what JL does. I don't have to go pull in something underneath my umbrella and attempt to recreate a wheel. I can say, you do this well. And so whenever we get into a service or into an agreement, you're going to handle this, and it makes me look better, and it's a win-win for everybody, which we're going to talk about as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, focusing on your core means that you have the ability to be a specialist. You can really grow your craft and become an expert.
And that's not negative. That's
Yeah.
so not negative.
Yeah.
So many people think it's negative, that if I'm a specialist, this is all that I do, that it's, you pigeonhole yourself or you feel like a consultant or something like, and that is not the case. It's not negative. It's, I'm not going to go outside my zone and work on something that I'm going to get a 30% return on. I'm going to focus right here because this is what I do well.
That's
Sorry to
great.
interrupt.
Yeah, it's good. You get to focus on what you're really passionate about and what you're really good at. So focusing on your core allows you to be a specialist and to be an expert and to really go deeper into that area. And yet having that partners network means that you can refer people. And we'll talk to you in a minute. Actually, that's on the next point about how you can monetize that. So it doesn't mean you actually, with the partnerships, you get the benefit of focusing on your core and monetizing non-core areas of business that are adjacent to you. So we'll talk on that a little bit next. So yeah, monetizing partnerships. I mean, maybe I'll take the first one. So my business is currently set up on referrals. So we'll talk about referrals as just our first option. There's a lot of types. We won't even try to cover every kind of partnership that's possible because the potential for partnerships is limited by basically your imagination. But the one that so transformation strategies is set up is based on referrals. So what we do is we partner with cybersecurity and data backup companies to protect businesses. And in the future, we'll also focus on some things that help people grow their business. So my whole thing is basically protection and growth for small business. And so referrals mean that I generate the interest, I educate the public, and then I have a service provider that actually does the work. So I can focus on the relationship and the customer care and the education and generating the interest and making that connection. And then I get a fee for that, which the customer doesn't pay for. And then they go make their deal with the provider. So I get to be an introducer. So it's kind of like the ultimate introducer effect because the whole concept of referral is literally that. So, our profit comes off of basically getting people connected to the solutions that are going to help them protect and grow their business. So that's a little bit about referral. Anything to add to that?
Not at all. I mean, I think we're all very familiar with referral. I mean, we all know referrals in general, but when you're in a partnership, referrals come a lot differently and they come a lot more frequently. So.
Got it. Next one is a reseller. So a reseller arrangement is one where you sell that solution. And so a reseller could be, the Walmart example where they're reselling a lot of products. It could be a software solution, which is kind of my space, where you're selling solutions directly, you're billing the customer, and then the vendor bills you. So reseller means reseller, you make a little bit more money usually than on a referral situation because you are doing billing and you are actually handling the entire transaction from front to back. But that's a reseller kind of arrangement. So if you go to Guitar Center does not make all those musical instruments, right? They're reselling them. So that's the classic model that American retail, and I think global retail is really built on mostly, is kind of that reseller arrangement. Yeah.
It's similar to, in my neck of the woods, maybe a franchise model. It's very similar. I mean, I'm sitting in front of Starbucks, okay? And so this Starbucks isn't probably, or maybe it is owned by Starbucks, but it's similar to that same type of model.
Absolutely. Well, actually, that's one that you should talk about. We don't even have that in the notes, but partnerships, franchises is for some people, and usually there's a little bit of money and definitely some time involved. But maybe, do you mind just adding that to our plan on the fly here of what is a franchise and a little bit of notes on that?
Yeah, just real quick, a franchise is basically a a a daughter to what the parent brand is, and so you looks and feels and everything as the parent brand. That's part of being a franchise is that it's identical. Doesn't matter if you're in Texas or New York, China. They're all going to look, feel. Items are going to taste the same. If it's a restaurant, that's the whole point. Is that the brand travels everywhere it goes. The only difference is who owns the building, who's paying the staff, and that is the person who actually signs the deal for that franchise. The franchisor takes their portion off the top. It's anywhere between 3 to 20%, in what they call royalties, and it just depends on how much overwork that they're doing. So it can be a great benefit, and quite frankly, it's probably almost I would say over 50% of what you see out there is a franchise.
Wow, amazing. And then white label. So I think you guys are set up to do white label. Talk to us about what is a white label situation for a partnership?
Basically, whenever I'm able to provide a service, but it doesn't have JL's logo on it. And so I can come alongside another brand and be an extension of what they're already doing, provide a service or a relationship that they're looking for, but it doesn't have to have my name all over it. And so white labeling is a huge deal. It's not for everybody, and quite frankly, it takes a certain personality because uh, there is some humility that comes with it to say to take your name or recognition off of it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think white label is interesting. I plan to have some white label services at some point where I will have service providers helping my customers. And they actually, that's not true. I have it right now. I have two consultants already lined up to do white label consulting under our flag around cybersecurity and um, sort of like small business IT modernization. I think we're calling it. I'm still building all this stuff, but modernization is the name we went with for that service. And literally, those two consultants it's a white label situation where they actually have a brand, but when it
Mm,
comes to leads that we produce, they will be under our flag, and that'll
sure.
be a white label service to me. And maybe I'll have a situation someday where I provide that. I think I'll be more of a consumer of white label vendors, though. I can't see because we're more of a platform than a white label provider right now. So yeah, it's very interesting. And actually, Beastmode is going to pitch me this week
Mhm.
on what they do. So that'll be a lot of fun. Actually, it's overdue. I should have asked you weeks ago about that. But yeah, so white label is a great opportunity for you to get business by providing. And you're right, you do have to swallow your pride a little bit because it's not under your flag or your logo or your brand. It's under your partner's brand. And so, you have to really treat that like it was your baby. And you kind of have two customers because you want to make the end customer delighted and you want to make your partner delighted as well. And so they'll introduce you into another dozen, white label opportunities for you. But yeah, it's a great way to start your business as well. And again, it is kind of benefiting once again from that introducer effect, but in this case, they retain the relationship fully, and you're the service provider. But it's a great source of revenue. Sometimes the margin might not be a little bit less because you have to fit in enough margin for them to get paid as well. But hey, we'll take leads all day long for sure. So we've got about 5 minutes. So you talked about in our show notes, you talked about aiming for a win-win. I mean, I think the spirit of that is right along with what we try to cover on the show. Talk a little bit about kind of that win-win.
Yeah, for me, it's a basis for all deals. So every deal needs to be a win-win. Nobody needs to lose. There's no reason for anybody to lose, but especially in partnerships. For it to be a lasting relationship, a lasting partnership, which that needs to be the goal. I don't need a 6-month partnership. I need somebody that I can count on, that I'm going to be there. And so for that to happen is you need to win by the service that I'm providing. If I'm the supporter, but then on the back end, I need to win because I need to be able to generate enough revenue to where I'm swallowing my pride, to where I'm taking my label off and I'm supporting you from this basis. And so it always comes back to, it's not necessarily financially, it could just be volume. You need to provide a volume to me that allows me the ability, or you need to provide me the functionality to where I'm able to be seen. Something that allows it to be a win for me.
It's really interesting because I've never thought about it. I think my personality lends itself to win-win, but I've never thought about making it an intentional line item on a business plan, where a partnership has a win-win. I do think about that when it comes to my end customer and a win-win. So I do want to get them the right deal and the right service to transform their business, but I haven't thought ahead much about the partnership setup and making sure it's an intentional line item on a business plan for the partner side. So yeah, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up for sure. So we only have a few minutes left, but some example companies. I mean, I think we've certainly shared a little bit about our own opportunities. I will tell you what a friend of mine does. So a friend of mine has a multi-million-dollar commercial landscaping company. It's about 80% or even 90% commercial and like 10% consumer. So they do, and I think I've talked about it before, but they do like lawns, they do tree service, they do chemicals, edging, leaf pickup. They don't do Christmas lights, and he's clear about that. We do not do Christmas lights, which is so funny. He gets sensitive about that. Good guy. But anyway, he actually outsources his tree service. And so that's a partnership opportunity. And this happens to fit under the white label because you don't know you're not dealing with these, with this brand themselves. But it's actually it's an outsourcer. So it's a great example of a white label and also of a partnership.
Right. So a couple of things we're just to wrap up real quick are cautions and how to get started. And so I think we're going to roll through these pretty quickly and we can kind of combine them together. So how to get started is you got to decide on your model. You have to decide on, am I the platform? Am I the Amazon Web Services? Or am I the HubSpot? Or am I one of the supporting roles, supporting partners underneath it that's lifting up? And for my take, you have to decide that on the front end. Before I even engage in the partnership, I need to know my role. I need to set my business up. I need to set everything up to where if I'm a supporter, I need to be ready for that. You got to be willing to listen and to adjust, to research and to prospect what's going to be best for you, short-term and long-term, to provide that win-win that we've talked about. Howie, do you have any cautions you want to talk about real quick to wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think cautions would be, make sure you have, you have legal paperwork in place. With my two consultants, we have a handshake for the first deal, maybe even the second deal. So I'm going to wait till there's a little bit of funding before I spend money on legal. But yeah, make sure you have your legal contract in place. Everybody gets a chance to review that and build that together into what will make them happy. I actually got contracts from the two software companies that I'm working with that I already have signed, and one of them I just signed. The other one I redlined, and I gave them all kinds of preferences, and they accepted most of this. So now we're both very happy about that. So make sure you have legal paperwork in place. It might be okay to do your first deal or two on a handshake to generate, to get to try it out, yeah, and then if that goes well, just make sure you have your paperwork in place. And as far as getting started, I mean, I think it's first, Beastmode talked about deciding on your model. I think that's a big deal, like deciding your model, listen to customers, also listen and observe your experience and see how that goes. And then, be willing to make changes through listening.
Yeah. Be willing to say no. Not every partner is the right partner. So be willing to say no if it doesn't fit into the parameters. We've talked about filters before. You need to have, You need to have some filters in place to say, this is going to be the right deal for me. And it's okay to say no. And it's also okay to find out if somebody's in a current partnership, to ask their current partners, is this going to be a good deal for me? You need to know. And so that's also okay.
Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. So I appreciate you very much, Beastmode. We'll talk to you next time. Where can they find us?
Yeah, of course. You can find us on our YouTube channel, just Howie and Beastmode. On all social media, Howie and Beastmode. Also, you can find us on anywhere that you listen to podcasts, and we'll be there again, Howie and Beastmode.